Average Woodsman here, back with another video. So today I wanted to kind of go over my survival fishing kit, or the fishing kit that I keep in my bag. I'm going to do a comprehensive video on it, go over all of the components in it, just to give you guys an idea of basically what I keep in my kit. Depending on where you live, carrying a fishing kit with you in your actual larger kit, whether that be your bag or your car or your truck or your canoe, whatever you might have, whatever you're using to carry the emergency items that you have in your kit, carrying a fishing kit in there along with those items is a must, in my personal opinion. Especially if you live in an area like I do here in Florida. We're surrounded by water. We have lakes and streams and creeks and ditches and rivers and ponds and all these places you can fish. Plus, we're a peninsula. We're literally surrounded by salt water, so you could fish in all these, and you could feed yourself in an extreme emergency. So that's why I personally carry a relatively extensive fishing kit. I've talked about it in the past, carrying supplemental kits. That's what this is. This is another supplemental kit to help you survive in an extreme emergency if you're caught in a situation that you were not intending. So if you do get stuck in a situation, now you'll have items with you to aid in feeding yourself, especially if it turns into more of a long-term emergency situation. Preferably you would only be out there for a few hours, maybe within 2 to 3 days you'd be rescued, which is generally the case, but there are instances where it can take longer to rescue someone. So you need to be ready for that and have that in your wheelhouse and be mentally prepared. And that's why it's good to have kits, specific kits like a fishing kit, like a trapping items, you know, fire items, all these types of things to keep in your kit, so you can have these to affect your survival in a more long-term situation if that's what ends up happening. Now, generally speaking, most situations end, or at least people are rescued, generally speaking, within 2 to 3 days, so 48 to 72 hours. But there are rare instances where people were stuck in an area where rescuers could either not find them or were unable to get to them, and people had to focus more on the long term. So having ways to feed yourself, especially if it's in a lightweight small package, is always a good thing to keep. All right, so before I get into the actual kit itself, I wanted to talk a little bit about the container. This is just an inexpensive Plano that I bought a while back. I figured it would make a good container for all my fishing kit, and it works really well. It has a rubber seal around it. It locks with these 3 here, and it works really well to keep it dry and to keep it secure. It's pretty heavy duty. I want to say it was a few dollars. I think I bought this at Walmart, but it wasn't very expensive. It was really inexpensive and pretty durable. It's been pretty good so far. And one thing I do like about it is if you were in the water or on the water, it does float. So that's another good thing about it. So this is the kit itself. I'll talk about this separately here. Honestly, you don't need a lot. You don't need a really large, super extensive survival kit for fishing. Having some basic items that can keep you alive in the short term, and maybe even in the longer term if absolutely necessary, that's the most important thing. So obviously, I have a bunch of lures and a bunch of hooks. I separated everything in little bags so I know. Like here I have a couple of flies that I can use, a couple different flies. I have a bunch of different lures, so some grubs here, a couple different types of grubs. I have a little crankbait and also a rooster tail, and I have a bunch of different hooks, an assortment. So I have smaller hooks in this with some small swivels and some small weights. I have slightly larger hooks along with slightly larger weights, and this gives me plenty of hooks. There's probably, I don't know, more than a dozen hooks here in these 2 small bags with swivels and weights, so I can make different types of fishing items out of it. I could use these to make bank sets, so I could have passive. I could use this, I could cut down a sapling, make a cane pole. I could do hand lines, because in this bag, this is where all my line is. So I have one with 6-pound test and one with 10-pound test on it. I have some Kevlar cordage, and then I also have a nice size Hanka bank line in here. So I have plenty of different types of lines here, so I could do different things if I absolutely had to. Also, I have all these are just some safety pins. They're always useful in every situation when you're out in the woods, or most situations when you're out in the woods, and they're really good for fishing. I also have just a little float. If I wanted to use this float for bait, like I was fishing for smaller panfish and things like that, which honestly panfish would probably be your best bet. They generally eat most things and they're abundant. So you want to really focus on that. Catching really big fish, while that would be awesome to catch a really large fish like a big catfish or a bass, something like that, maybe a bowfin. Now, one last thing I did want to talk about, while I could go out and I could forage for something like night crawlers or other types of bait, instead of carrying the little tubes of these salmon eggs, which in my opinion, this is just my opinion from my experience, they don't work really great. They're okay, but they don't work really great. And instead of spending a bunch of time in an emergency actually looking for bait, I carry these Berkley Power Bait. These are catfish bites. So this one I believe is chicken liver, but this one works really well. A bunch of the other ones I've used, and I just put this in a small bag. There's plenty of it in here. You pull pieces off, put it in a ball, put it on the end of one of these hooks, and you will catch bluegill after bluegill after bluegill, and you can catch other types of fish if you wanted to, for instance like catfish and other larger species on this also. But something like this doesn't weigh anything, and it works really well, and this removes the need for me personally to go out and look for bait in an emergency if that's the situation that I was in. Everything in here, I have everything in here I need to right away start collecting food in an extreme emergency if I absolutely had to. So that's why I like to carry this with me. Like I said, it doesn't weigh anything, and there's a lot of bait in here. You just pull off a little tiny nugget, make a little ball, put it on the end of one of these hooks, throw it out. You can even smear this on some of the lures because of the scent that's in it, and it'll attract other types of fish. So having some actual bait in your survival kit, your fishing survival kit, I think is really important, and you should definitely do it. So that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to basically go over my survival kit, you know, and just give you guys some ideas, show you what I carry in mine. If you wanted to add things to it, go right ahead. If you want to subtract things to it you don't think you need, that works too. If you want to maybe carry a slightly larger container and maybe throw a couple yo-yos in there, or one of the reels that you can wrap line around that hold lures and hooks and things like that inside, if you want to do that, go that way too. I prefer this one. That's just me. I grew up in Florida. I've lived here most of my life. I know the waterways. I know the species here. I've been fishing since I was a little tiny kid. Fishing is something that I have a lot of experience doing. I used to compete in tournaments, bass tournaments when I was a kid. Have competed in saltwater tournaments as an adult. I do a lot of fishing. I really enjoy fishing, and I know this specific subject and this specific skill set pretty well. So I feel comfortable with this. I've used this kit before when I was out camping. It works really well for me specifically, but like I said, if you guys want to add or subtract things to it, that's totally understandable. This is more just a demonstration of what I carry, and to give you guys some ideas of basically what might work or what will work in certain areas, and it might work in your areas. That's pretty much it for this video. Remember to like, subscribe, share these videos with your friends and family. I also have another channel that I started that's just YouTube Shorts. I'll go ahead and link that in the description below if you guys want to go check out that channel and subscribe to it. Remember to be safe, stay dangerous, and I'll catch you in the next one.